This is Crimson Blades, and we're finally going to be checking out a game that has been on my radar. And I had recently put up a post on it about games that people would be interested to watch, and this was at the top of the polls. Essentially, it's a digital adaptation of the Lord of the Rings living card game, but with some changes that was done. So we're gonna do this as a first look. I'll walk you through the UIs and how the gameplay works, and hopefully it'll pique your interest, and maybe you'll give it a go. So this is available on Steam. So when you start up the game, there's a lot of options, and you'll actually notice that as we go ahead. So customizations, I won't really go too much into it. Essentially, as you play, you're going to be getting these currency, in-game currency that you can spend on things like avatar for your character and so on, emotes, etc., because this game can be played multiplayer as well. And you can also, as you are familiarizing yourself with the game, actually design your decks the way you want to design them. You don't have to play pre-built decks, and you can challenge lots of different campaigns or scenarios, and beyond that you can actually each time you beat these scenarios, you actually unlock more cards, so it allows versatility in terms of the game itself. So now when I look at the different gameplay types, there's not much of a multiplayer scene as far as I've recently seen, so I'm just going to move on to single player and show you a little bit. There's variations here of how you can play the game. I'm going to go with the campaign because I think from what I've been experimenting with, I think it's maybe the best one to show you what the game is like. So in the campaign, it sort of has this continuous story, if you will, but let's just start with the first campaign. So the Shadows Reach. Before you start, they'll tell you your campaign rewards, so when you beat the level, what weapon or item or card you would unlock that you can use to build your other decks with. And then there's multiple different quests within that campaign. You can see it's a continuous story that keeps going, but let's just start with the first quest, and when there's cutscenes, I'm gonna be quiet and let the cutscene play itself. Essentially, the story here for the first one is that Bilbo Baggins has been captured and Glowin has arrived to try and find him. Difficulties, deck selection, they're all available here for you to really fine-tune what you like to do, and let's just give it a go.
After arriving at Beorn's Hall, you've learned the famous Bilbo Baggins was taken by Mirkwood spiders mere hours ago. Without hesitation, you volunteer to find and retrieve the Hobbit, hopefully before he's consumed. Or worse. And so you find yourself before Greenwood the Great, that the wary and the wise call Mirkwood. A sleeping evil once inhabited the Greenwood, but was purged many years ago. The forest has since known a period of peace and the return of wholesome life. As the shadows now gather under the trees, you sense a foulness on the air. You fear evil may have returned to this realm. You begin to search for clues as to which direction the spiders took Bilbo. There are ample signs of recent struggle in the small glade, and several of the Hobbit's possessions are strewn about. After a few moments, you notice a gleam of metal on the forest floor. Perhaps a sign. You're about to investigate, as several giant spiders creep into the glade. They don't seem at all interested in assisting the search. Quite the contrary.
We stand together. Huh.
This at your service.
A gift I will give you.
Alright, so when you start, they will give you an option of cards which you can essentially mulligan back into your deck. So let's just say I click one of these cards and confirm to mulligan that card. Alright, so each aspect of a quest that we're doing in this first leg of the journey, they'll give you the objective right at the top. And the idea of the game is that it has a bit of a race mechanic to it in terms of you're racing against Sauron. So you are the free peoples, and the quest that you have is to resolve the Glint of Steel or defeat all enemies in play. So I could kill all these enemies, or I could finish this journey, which is, if you right click anything in this game, you get info, Glint of Steel. So for example, I could pursue this route, or I could just kill all the enemies, and they both yield different outcome. Now, what I mean by we are racing against them is that the longer we are spending time in the game not advancing this mission up here, this corner, it's called a threat meter, you see 30 out of 50, it slowly starts to rise and rise and rise. If it hits benchmarks, you're actually going to have events where more enemies are going to spawn, and things are going to get harder and harder for you, and if it reaches 50 you lose. So that there's an element there of a bit of a race against the clock. A few things in terms of explanations on how the game works. So every character has an action, it's sort of turn based. So let's say I use Arwen now here, and I do something with her character, then the enemy has a turn, then I'll have a turn, the enemy has a turn. Anything in this game with keywords, it might seem like a lot at the get-go, but anything in this game with keywords, you can point your mouse at it and wait for a few seconds, it tells you exactly what it is. When this unit defends, it deals a damage, and every time it does a defense, it also gains protect. Yeah, cancel the next damage dealt. So for example, this character would benefit a lot from the defend action. So when you right click a character, you have the options here. You can either use his ability, which is the Fate ability, which I'll get into shortly, or you could use his defend ability, and in his case he's a defender, which benefits from it. Let's go with defend. So the enemy hit him, took 3 damage as retaliation plus the 1 that he deals, so dealt 4 damage, kills that enemy. So now I did the defense, he did an attack. Okay, so in addition to that, instead of using these characters right now, I could have played a card. So again, I think familiarizing yourself with a card is helpful. Things like this provides emphasis to some variability in the game, and if you are reading all of these, you'll familiarize yourself with what's the best play. Now, the only other thing I haven't described is what is this, the Fate button. When you use the Fate button, you spend the characters this number, advance this tract. And why is this track important is because there's location specific numbers. So let's say I hit level 2, I could click it in order to do this ability. Restore health to one character and radiate. Radiating in this game is essentially, now that this character is exhausted, he can't do anything till the end of the round. I could radi him, for example. 3, I can exhaust spider units, meaning spend up their turns. If it's 6, I can in fact summon an extra character that's particularly strong. So we could work our way towards that, or we could use these characters, any characters, this willpower option to start finishing these missions. Remember, this is the objective in the end of the day. So there's a few ways to approach this. So I'm going to start right now by, so let's see, this gives you block and guard, right? Guard, no, non-guard can be attack or engage. Okay, so why don't we start to give certain characters guard. So let's give actually no, let's use 1. Summon a random non-unique ally from your deck. So let's do that first.
There is much still to be learned.
And there's a lot of synergy in the game. For example, this character is giving all other dwarfs +1 attack, which is the blue. Willpower is this, health is this. It's giving all other dwarfs 1 attack as long as he's not exhausted. So you don't want to go with him early. So this guy is stronger for that purpose. So I'll get into some of the other stuff in a little bit. But let's say now he's gonna go, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I'm gonna ignore this. I want to get Gloin up here. So I'm gonna start investing in that. You'll notice the left side. It starts to go up and up. Okay, and then. I'm also going to invest in this again. We'll try and push our way there, and Sauron is playing cards as well, and he is, and before I do his action, I'm actually going to play this again. He's stronger, 1 attack extra. I'm going to use him to wipe out one of these guys. Okay. Again, now Sauron just played something on this character. If we miss that, we can right click the character and point right up here. It tells you. So now attacking this enemy would cause problems for me, because the threat meter here is going to go up even faster, and we want to be careful about something like that. So finally we're going to do this. We're going to get it to 6. Right. Sauron is doing some stuff, and then I'm going to click this, and I'm going to has this tick here,
We do
summon
not
him
escape the
into the game,
shadows
and
of
he's
these
immediately
titles.
active as well. And I'm going to start using him to start doing this quest. You want to keep pushing ahead. Looks like a turn ended, everyone ended. So upkeep phase is how every round starts. So starting with Arwen, Arwen's ability, heal one character for 1. So let's heal up this character, for example. Then his upkeep is to draw an extra card. So you get cards being drawn in your start. At any point you could also use a character's ability like this. Spend 1 to discard a random shadow attachment. That's these things. These are shadow attachments. Again, this is something, the more familiar you are with it, it'll be a lot easier. So again, I'm just going to power through and try and finish this as fast as possible. So he's dealt damage. I am going to... Let's give armor of Airbot to this guy. So now he's defended there. And we're still gonna power through and try and finish this. Okay, he's forcing all our allies to lose willpower this turn. It's not the end of the world. Let's say we summon a random ally.
Maybe later.
Okay. And we'll finish that. Alright. So we continue the story. So glint of steel. Lying on the forest floor is a small elven blade, beautiful, strong and light. This must be Bilbo's sword Sting, a valuable treasure. In fact, we get Sting as well. So at this point, we can choose to fight some of the enemies, or we could keep going, which is travel. So traveling will end our turn, will end everything. Now some enemies, if I'm not mistaken, enemies will continue to remain in the field, so it is a bit of a risky option. But let's just keep going. Let's power through. Travel.
You notice that he slid his sword along the undergrowth as he was hauled away. When the spider's poison immobilized him, he must have dropped Sting. Encouraged, you venture into the shadowy green-grey wilderness that is Mirkwood.
The small cocoon is dropped before the lady.
Eat it, milady. Scrumptious it is. Tasty, sweet.
The skinny creature squeals in pleasure and anticipation, jumping to and fro on arms and legs as if a spider himself. The creature gives the cocoon a kick.
False it is. Baggins, trickster, thief, cheater. Call him. Eats it. Eats it.
We all know who this is.
Enormous spider moves to hover over the cocoon. Spear-sized mandibles emerge slowly from its dripping maw.
Suck it to bones, milady. No hangingness or dryingness needed. Not like tough dwarfs or tricky elves. Sweet and juicy habits. Just leave closest, milady. For precious is in its pockets, my precious.
The spider monstrosity is about to delve into her meal, when a sudden noise is heard from the edge of the lair. Flapping its hands nervously and bobbing its scrawny neck, the creature pleads.
Don't listen to woodsy noises, milady. Eat, while habit is warms.
Someone has arrived, and the spiders move to greet them.
So I might be starting to jump ahead through the story because I don't want the video to drag on for too long. I believe there's 4 parts to this encounter, and of course if you're interested, you could always pause to have a quick look at the story, but I'll give you a quick rundown. Essentially there is a block in the way. They need to cross a stream, and the goal here is to find a way across the stream. So again, upkeeps do a completely new round. Upkeeps are starting again. Let's heal up people that have shield. What's surge? Let's have a look here. Okay. Alright. So in this case, again, we want to find a way to cross the stream. I would normally do this, but you see this little lock symbol there. It's because this is in effect. This obstacle is keeping you from engaging any other objective, so the path is blocked to the stream. So I need to get rid of this first. So a lot of ways. Again, I think it's a good idea to always look at what options there are in here, but not all of them are so useful. You may just want to power through. So let's put let's say we apply Sting to him. It's quite a tough character now. Okay. And then we are going to power through these objective locations. Okay. So you've completed this. Travel to avoid the looming threat. Again, this is one of those situations. You have the option to just power through again. I probably would recommend just pushing through because you kind of want to avoid this from triggering, which is the
dead tree falls across the stream with a splintery crack. You use the fallen trunk to step across, careful to not slip. What could cause wild creatures to attack so? Perhaps the corrupt...
Alright. To give you a sense, a giant bear showed up out of nowhere. Kiraus is the bear. So the goal here is to defeat him. Now the catch is when we start, however, is this not triggered yet? Oh, it has not triggered yet. So one turn it's going to trigger and we're going to have more enemies on the field. I would typically play Gandalf here. Now I'll explain why. So Gandalf is an extremely strong unit. So fleeting, meaning he arrives at the end of the phase, he's gone. He's out of, discarded completely. Arrival is when he comes into play, he does something. So in this case, you can choose one of these three. Normally, I'd reduce the threat. And once Gandalf comes in place, he reduces the threat by 3. It takes a longer time to get here. You can also use Gandalf after that to do more. I think I'm gonna not do that this time because I want to show you what happens when this occurs. So instead, we are going to oh, oops! I don't know what happened there. I guess I shouldn't have exited. I shouldn't have did a defense with him. Let's go with this character.
Not all who wander are lost.
This is a painful one. This got every event in players' hands, so a lot of cards are gone from that. I am going to actually power through to Grim Beyond. He's another character we can unlock. Remember, same thing. We're going to push this through. I'm going to start speeding up my gameplay here for you guys. How much do we have? 5 out of 8. I guess we could just power through. Yep. What is stalwart? Sometimes it's a bit finicky. Let me just double check that. Can I see what stalwart is? Yeah. Oh, he can attack twice in a row. He doesn't exhaust after he does an action. 6. Let's see 2 more, right? So let's keep going. Let's power through to Grim Beyond. Do it again. Okay, and then we will unlock him. Now the thing is, this is your sort of your limit of characters, so you have to drop someone. I'm just gonna drop the Hobbit, put Grim Beyond in. He's also able to act immediately. He has block, which reduces damage he takes from attacks, and also has the same ability of stalwart. So we're gonna hit him, and then he gets another turn. I'm gonna hit him again. and discard one card. Let's discard one of the Gandalfs. That's the effect of this card. Right. So now you'll notice this event triggered. The Brood Elder showed up, and this is a strong enemy that is capable of granting health to other spider enemies. And we are just going to power through and try and wipe him out immediately. Okay, and we will travel. Again, we're going to discard 2 cards, so let's discard this and this. There's a lot of variability to options here that you can do.
Before the monotony of the forest claws at you again, you come upon a sudden clearing. The sluggish breeze and one grey light of the dell are a welcome change from the humid twilight of the forest.
Alright, final encounter. So, let's see, we could use this exhaust to spider, okay. So we can either defeat 6 enemy units or defeat every enemy in play. So if we're able to somehow coordinate and wipe everyone out, that's perfect. It's not going to be that simple, but we'll give it a go. So first things first, I do want to apply a +1 attack to the bear. The reason is because he can attack twice, right? So the value there is really high when you can do something like this. I know I can end it here, but let's just see what happens if we try and rescue this person. I am curious, so let's go with this. Oh no, that person has defense. Let's take him out. Another one. Take him out. They're kind of wiping out every enemy that shows up. Alright. Here, I got an idea. Why don't we just play Gandalf? We'll discard this guy.
I am a servant of the secret fire.
And let's do the reduce the threat by 3 that we talked about earlier. So you'll notice this goes down. Just demonstrate some of the mechanics. And then we'll use Gandalf to finish this up. Must make room to add a character. So let's drop this guy.
Trouble? I can help with that.
You tear into the concerningly large cocoon, much to your disappointment, but not to his. The cocoon contains not Bilbo, but Bjorning by the name of Ubilelk. So, again, very strong character. He can attack twice. So, let's use him and wipe out the enemy. And we've finished to kill all the enemies and play at once.
The lady and her brood are gathered at the edge of their lair. A band of orcs and goblins have emerged from the trees. Some heave empty wagons, others carry torches. A huge orc trumps to stand before the lady.
After recovering, Will Elk thanks you profusely. Over the past few months, he tells you, a number of tribesmen have gone mysteriously absent. He suspects they've fallen prey to similar circumstances, but offers no explanation as to why the great spiders have suddenly become so daring.
Alright. So the end of it, the end of the of quest, essentially, you're going to get some rewards. So you're going to get completion, you're going to get some of these fellowship coins that you can spend. If you can continue, they tell you which of these sort of challenges in the game that you managed to secure, which gives you some extra points. Again, those are for cosmetics and those kind of things. But the first couple of times you beat a specific quest, you will get different unlocks. So some of times they're cards, sometimes they're avatars, etc. And really it goes on and on. There's a bunch of content here that's available. So Shadow's Fall is the next one. There's a lot that I have not done actually. Witch King's Grasp, again another 5. And this is only the campaigns. There's some of the other encounters that we have as well. I think that where the replayability comes from this game is that you can really design decks however you want, and certain campaigns they really call for you to play differently. You can't, I mean, you can use the same deck and try and power through everything, but some maps would require people with a lot of willpower, and other maps require a lot of combat, and there's going to be a bit of a balance, and that's where the fun of the game comes in. It is quite different in some regards from the living card game that I've played before. However, it definitely tries to stick true to what it can, and I think it's a very fun game. I wouldn't mind playing this moving forward as well, to maybe try and create a unique sort of a broken build that I can power through different campaigns with and so on. So I hope you've enjoyed this first look at the Lord of the Rings adventure card game. It's available on Steam. It's a very fun game. I completely enjoy it, especially because I'm a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings as well. You know, I hope you guys enjoyed this too. Like and subscribe. You know, you have any future suggestions for games, you throw it down in the comments below. Thank you very much and have an awesome day.
You can count on my steel.